Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 what's going on, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's a little bit after 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we are live for another episode of Book Talk Live. Today, I will be joined by another phenomenal guest, an author who has done many great things. And actually, he's just now jumping on and able to join us, Mr. Rick Greene. What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm having a blessed day. How you doing?
Oh man, another great day. Another exciting day to be 6 feet up as opposed to 6 feet under.
Yeah, hey, man, I'm agreeing with you 100%.
Yes, sir. So listen, I can go on and on about you because we've been on the phone. I've heard some amazing things about your story. Did some research and even know a little bit about you just from our general conversations. But I always like to get the guests to introduce themselves to the audience. So go ahead and introduce yourself to
Okay. My name is Rick Greene. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a husband and a father of 6 boys with a bonus baby girl that's 19 months old today. And I'm just trying my best to be who God called me to be.
Come on now. Hey, there's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. So you said you got 6 boys and the bonus.
Yes.
So from the sounds of it, family is huge, huge to you. Am I right?
Yeah, family is everything. After God, family is really all you got. They're the people that really know you and accept you for who you are.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And so even even without it, there's a story behind why family is so important to you. But let's kind of dig in and go into your story. So there's a backstory that most people do not know if they're just now joining us. So that backstory goes back, I want to say, what, 20 plus years?
Yeah, most definitely. It was pretty ugly story, but the older I get, I wouldn't change my story for anything. The choices I made in my life, I'm living them out today, but I'm on a better side of them. I'll put it like that. No, I was young and dumb, living for Rick and living for the world, and nothing else meant nothing but pleasing Rick. And it got me in a lot of trouble. That selfish
Yes, sir.
ambition is deadly. It's also toxic. And
Yeah.
growing up in Cincinnati, I'm the baby. I'm number 11. And I
Oh
always
man.
look back. Yeah, I'm 11. So I never really got nothing new. I always got hand-me-down clothes. And I remember I used to hate that when I was younger. But now I thank God because my dad was a hard-working man. He did the best he could. And I guess just growing up and not really getting the love that I needed as a child, it sent me in a really bad downward spiral. And I think we react to situations differently. There was always a lot of smoking, cussing, drinking, and drug use in my house growing up. And I remember I used to hate it because the adults wouldn't pay attention to me. And I swore I would never be like them. And as I got older, I found myself turning into them because they appeared to be having so much fun.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were alcoholic and addicts. I didn't know what that meant at a young age.
Yeah, as most of us as most of us don't, right?
Yeah, I was just jealous because they were laughing and joking all the time, and I was always miserable, down, depressed, and suffered from low self-esteem. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to joke. I wanted to do what I thought was fun when I saw them doing it. You know, when you're a child, you think like a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking for a way out of the misery. You know, like I told you before, I think the biggest thing that really affected me more than anything, which is sadly still kind of affect me to this day. You know, I'll be 58 next Saturday, and my mother never told me she loved me, and she's dead and gone, and I still chase that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heal from that because I want something I can't have, and I know I can't have it. But by the
Yes, sir.
grace of God, I'm still here.
And listen, how many people actually struggle with just wanting that acceptance? Like you said, the things that you saw, what you were exposed to at a young age, changed who you were. Um, it changed who you were in the long run, because that's when you saw, wait a minute, these people are having fun, and what are they doing? They're drinking, they're smoking. And like you said, over the years it turned into you getting out there doing the exact same thing. So I know there's a great side to this story, right? But I
Yeah.
want to touch on the dark side to let people see. There's an old saying, thank God thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Yes.
And so let's talk about some of those things. What was it like when you started chasing that attention in the wrong direction?
Well, for me, the more I chased it and the more I realized I couldn't have it, the angrier it made me. And I was around people smoking, doing drugs, and drinking my whole life, and I would never do it. I don't know what made me one day grab the straw out of this guy's hand. That's why I never say nobody forced me to do drugs and alcohol. I forced the straw. I wanted to see what this stuff was they were putting up their nose that made them so happy. And I remember the devil kept saying, "Go ahead, Rick, it won't be that bad." But you know, he's a liar. He don't give you the whole story. He gives
Yeah.
you just enough to entice you. And I didn't know by grabbing that straw, I'd open the door to a 16-year nightmare. The first time I tried coke, I never stopped. And it was just horrible. I was literally just working to stay high, and I was working to give the dope dealers my money every Friday so they wouldn't hurt me or my parents. I was literally in this cycle of just keeping the dope dealers from hurting us. So I had to work so they wouldn't hurt my family.
Yeah.
And court, they would give me the dope up front, then your whole check go to them on Friday. And to me, that's an ugly, vicious cycle. It's hard to get out of.
Yes, sir.
And I wouldn't wish that on nobody. And by the grace of God, I'm still here because mine was so bad. I remember going to funerals of people that had died in alleys we were getting high in. And I was mad because the preacher was taking too long in the service. I wanted to get high. I really was angry. That's how deep and dark Satan can pull you. And it's really sad because you justify your anger. Nothing mean nothing but that next high. Nothing mean nothing but that next 40 ounce. And
Hmm.
now I learned what it's like to really chase. I almost feel like I was chasing a demon, but I couldn't grab him. I would get close, but I couldn't grab him. And as much as I realized he was a demon, I don't know, that's as much as I wanted him. And that don't make sense to me. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be scared of a demon. I actually became comfortable with it. I actually didn't want to be without it. It become my norm. And I don't even know if that makes sense to people. That was my reality.
Now it definitely makes sense. I mean, addiction is just like you described it. A lot of people think that, well, these people out here that are addicted to whatever substance it is. It can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be
Yeah,
cigarettes,
yes,
cigars,
yes,
sex, whatever that addiction
yes,
is. There is something that the person is chasing, and it's usually that initial feeling that you got that you began chasing. So I understand it completely. The thing that you should be running from is the thing that you found yourself running to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can only imagine what it was like in those streets in those times. Now, part of your story is not just the addiction, but there was a cost to it. There was a cost to it.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, I've lived in Cincinnati my whole life, and I have four boys that look just like me that don't want me that live in Cincinnati, and I have two that live with me, and my wife that's never been without us. And I always pray to God, if I can't have my four sons back, can the two know the four and the four know the two? And I said, God, I'll accept that. Of course, I would like to be their friend. I think it's too late to be their father. My oldest son, 34. The youngest one, like 23. I think I'm too old. They're too old for me to be their father. I would just love to be in their life, whatever capacity they would have. That's what I'm willing to do. I'm sorry, and I pray for my sons 7 days a week. I don't know if they'll ever forgive me, but I'll never down them or be mad at them for not. I understand my part in this. I gave them a father they didn't ask for. I gave them a father they didn't want. I gave them a father they didn't deserve.
Yes, sir.
So I have to be I don't think we grow as human beings until we're honest with ourselves. That's why I never tell people when I speak that God freed me from alcohol. I mean, that God cleaned me from alcohol and drugs. That's not true. I was never dirty. I was a victim of my own poor choice. I chose alcohol. I chose cocaine. People can't say it's hereditary. Only reason I don't believe that, why come out of 11 kids, all of us aren't alcohol addicts? No one can give me a straight answer on that. I'm not buying the hereditary thing. I'm buying my free will and my choice. I made the wrong choice. I pay for it daily. I may not ever get my son, but I never claim that because I serve a God that can do anything. I'll never claim that. I hope I have my son back. I'll never claim I won't. No, God is too big for me to speak for him anyway. I pray that he open that door and soften their heart where we can at least talk. And I'm sure the first one's going to be hard and hurtful. And Rick got to shut his mouth and take it. They deserve their turn. And yeah, it's going to hurt. But I'm willing to take that hurt. Because if you look at it, all I've given them was hurt. I'm the cat mama told them about that they don't know. They hear stories of this cat, but they don't know him. And to me, it's just a sad story, that area of my life. But there's two sons at home that never been without me. I got a wife that loves me. I can't not live and be there for them.
Yeah.
And I told people that's my life 7 days a week. I can't let them down. Sadly, I learned how to be a good father and husband to my wife and two sons at home by being such a horrible father to the four sons of my ex-wife. And that's sad to say, but I don't know how else to say it. I think that's the most honest way to say it.
Yes, sir.
And I tell people we need to stop judging people because I don't think none of us are squeaky clean. I'm not making no excuses for what I did. I didn't know when I grabbed that straw I was going to marry and lose a wife and lose four sons. The devil didn't tell me the whole story. He gave me just a little piece. And I fell for it. So I got to take what comes with my failures. I fell for that lie, hook, line, and sinker, and I'm suffering every day for it. I hurt every day. I call my four sons' names out daily when I pray. And I don't know the outcome, but I serve a God that do.
Yes, sir. Listen, and here's what I love. One, accountability, right? Because you hear a lot of people these days that are so angry with people from their past, and it's like they're different people, and you're living a living, breathing testimony of that. And we'll jump into that in a little bit because I know a lot of the story behind Rick Greene, but a lot of people don't. And we want to get that story out there so that people actually know who is Rick Greene. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back in about 2 and 2.
I want to say thank you to you, because throughout this journey of me even wanting to buy a book or write a book or publish a book, and I tried to do it on my own, and I have spent so much money, honestly, with other individuals who say, oh, yeah, we can help you write your book. And they just give you a link, and then that was it. So I want to give kudos to this man right here, Mr. Destin, because not only did he say he was going to help you, walk you through the my accountability, or my BOBM. There we go. BOBM. I always get tongue twisted with that. BOBM family. I want to say thank you guys. We actually have an accountability call that happens every day. And that accountability call that is facilitated by Mr. Destin is a way for us to pick our goals for the week and make sure that we're accomplishing it. And so for you, I want to say thank you for being a man of your word, and for being the person and being one who is pushing and making sure that I stayed on track, and that I was able to accomplish what it is that I said I wanted to do, and holding me accountable for the times that I did not do it. And so I definitely want to say thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you for your team of supporters. The feedback was great. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, and we are back. So if you're just joining us, you've missed the beginning of the story of Mr. Rick Greene. Amazing testimony, from we'll just say from scar to victory, because his story is still ongoing. But the beginning of the story, youngest of 11 kids. That's right, 11. So, but made a few decisions that changed his life, and now he is actually in a much different place. So some of the things that are happening currently, daily, you do a few things both online and on the radio. So let's go ahead and jump into that. But let's start. Tell me where the change happened. Where was that transition from where you were to where you're at now?
Hey, could you give me 1 second? I hate to be rude. I lost my volume. I'm trying to get my volume back. Give me 1 second. Have a little technical difficulties here.
Understood. Yeah, and while he's getting the technical side taken care of, a couple of things that I'll touch on is that Rick is actually on the radio every day out there in Cincinnati, and he does a scripture reading daily, and at the same time he's very active in his church, himself and his wife. You got to hit that mute button at the bottom. Yeah, but he's very active in his church himself, along with his wife, and daily he drops motivational content, both on Facebook and on Instagram. So the life that he once lived is no longer the life that he's living, because he's now in a much different place in his life. Like he said before, those 4 sons are now estranged. Different circumstances, and we've all seen it before. Made decisions in our past that kind of took us away from the life that we are living now, but really turned this thing completely around, and that's what Rick has done. So I'm so proud of the man that he is. And we're going to touch on a few of the things. Looks like there's just a few technical difficulties that's happening right now, but once he's back, we're going to touch on some of the other amazing things that he's done. So being on the radio is just one, but there's actually a celebrity that everybody knows extremely well that he's connected to through part of his testimony. And when I say knows very well, Hall of Fame well. So in the meantime, while Rick is getting his audio and video back together, and I know sometimes being live, there are a few things that we got to take care of and adjust to. But one of the things that I'll touch on is this weekend he's actually hosting his book launch. For his book Spiritworks, and Spiritworks is a testimony of his life, the things that he's been through, where he's at now in life, and just kind of walks you through a little bit of his story. There's more to his story than you all can possibly imagine. But you want to definitely go ahead and register for the event. Make sure that you are there when the event takes place. So that we can make sure that you're accounted for in this historic moment. And the link is in the comments. Now looks like we got Rick back. So just telling the people a little bit of your story, man. Hey, technical difficulties, right? This technology.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Everything went black.
Yeah. Hey, man, black ain't a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm sweating bullets, man. But I like that though. Can I borrow that?
Yeah. But I was telling the people a little bit about what you currently do. Is that daily you drop content on Instagram and on Facebook, motivational messages. And this weekend that your launch is coming up. But we were talking about when did that transition happen for you, where you went from the Rick Greene of old to the man that Rick Greene is now, a minister, a man of God, man of the church?
Oh, I can never forget that day, June 15th, 1998. After crying on my knees in a cell in the Justice Center, which is our county jail. And I ask people this, and I hate thinking this. I ask people, do I need to thank Satan? And the reason I ask that, I'm in the jail, and for the first time, Satan said, why don't you kill yourself? You'll never beat me.
Oh, man.
And I remember I told my pastor, it made me so angry. I said, why don't you kill yourself? And a couple hours later, I got out, I went home, and that question picked at me and picked at me and picked at me. Why don't you kill yourself? You never beat me. That may have been the first time in my life I sincerely cried out to God. I remember praying to God. I never asked God to remove alcohol and drugs. I knew that would be here to the end of time. I asked God to remove my desire for alcohol and drugs and cleanse my tongue. And I haven't cussed since 1998. That's exactly what my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ did. I poured all my Coke down the toilet. I poured my beer down the toilet, and I broke my cigarettes. And by the grace of God, that Rick Greene is still in my heart. The coward that hurt his ex-wife and hurt his children, he's still on his knees on the floor crying, but the man stood up.
Mm-hmm.
That Rick Greene deserved to stay on the floor. He deserved to bow down. He was selfish and only served himself and the devil. He never needs to stand back up. But a new man stood up. And I don't look back at him because I don't like him.
Come on.
I'm ashamed to tell people that that was me, but I can't deny it either. But because of him, I believe that's the reason I am who I am today. But do I miss him? Never.
Yeah.
I only think about him when I share my testimony. I have no love for him. He hurt a lot of people. He was destroying himself and didn't even realize it. I was totally a slave to the devil. I didn't even try to fight him. And you don't really see it until you get outside. When you're in the pot, you can't see all the content because you're being stirred around with him. I had to get out the pot to see what was in the pot. It's filth, it's shame, it's nasty, it's horrible. It's nothing holy, nothing righteous, nothing loving. It's all selfish.
Yeah.
And I don't miss that part. But when I see people in that pot today, how dare we judge them? I always tell people, you don't know that brother or sister's story. Why do you laugh and point at a prostitute? You don't know why she's selling her body. You don't know if some man broke her will and pushed her there. Leave her alone. You don't know if her father never loved her. Maybe her mom never knows. You don't know her story. How dare you talk about the prostitute? Why don't you love her? Why don't you buy her a meal? How about that? Maybe you could be the bright spot in her day. Maybe you could be the reason she believes in God. I just don't like when we point fingers and put down. For one thing, we don't have the authority. But, you know, we claim we're gods. Okay, you keep believing that other lie. There's only one God. You know, you can be so full of yourself that everyone else smells you and you can't. You can be so full of you.
Yes, sir.
You really look like a joke. Nobody want to tell you, though. It's too funny laughing at you. Why tell you?
Yes, sir.
I know, because I was the joke.
Yeah.
I admit it. How many people made a million mistakes and God loved me a million times past that? Me. How many people made dumb decisions, horrible decisions, hurtful decisions? Me. How many people are probably going to fall and make mistakes again? Me. How many people God never going to stop loving? Me.
Come on.
You know, I'm not, sometimes it's hard for me to take compliments from people because I won't let people place me on the shelf I'm not. I always tell people my life is a God story. There's no Rick Greene story without a God story. Let's just be real.
Come on, say that.
There was a God story, then there became a Rick Greene story. You can never reverse that. There's no story.
Yeah.
So everything I do is because God loved me first. Am I perfect? No. This is why I tell people jokingly, but am I joking? If you kick me, you better run. I'm not there yet. I'm be honest, I'm not there yet. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that. I'm not there.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, I love that. As you were talking, there's a Kirk Franklin song that comes to mind, and it said in the lyrics, he said you may be the only God that they see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not about us, like you said. There is no Rick Greene story without God. And I feel the same way. You know, you can talk about me all day, but you better believe that there are those moments when I could truly feel that I was on the shoulders of a person much bigger and stronger and more powerful than me, and I still stand on those shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there is no judgment. Of
and brother, let me tell you this: when you're in the alley and literally somebody dying and y'all doing the exact same drug, and I said, God, you just keep sparing me. Why? I didn't know why he kept sparing me. We just ingested the same thing, and I saw God had things for me to do in my life. It wasn't my time, and I probably didn't take it seriously then. I still got high. And, you know, sometimes I just look back at my story and I shake my head like, how can I be so naive? But that's what flirting with sin is. That's why I think Satan likes alcoholic and drug addicts. I'm convinced Satan wants us to get us out of the natural mind that we're born with.
Yeah.
We created to use our natural mind. If he can get us out of that natural mind, pretty much he got you. Because you're not thinking in a manner that God called you to think. It's all distorted. It's all disrupted. To me, it's more like noise. There's no smoothness about it. It's all chaotic. Everything was rush and panic when I was working for Satan. But I told people I fired him 23 years ago. And now he can't have his job back. He's been replaced. Because I fired him and I picked up the Trinity and I'm not letting them go. And then from beyond it, the Trinity never let me go. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
That's why I think the polluting of the mind is so powerful. Satan knows you're probably not going to go to church. You're probably not going to read your Bible. You're probably not going to hang around people that trying to live a righteous life if your mind is poisoned, because he got this thing to where you always feel like they're talking about you even if they're not.
Yeah.
But all these little tools and weapons he's got are no match for Jesus. They're just little tools. They're just little weapons. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he don't have power. He does have power. That's biblical. Satan has power. But I know who has all power.
Mm-hmm.
Because all power reached down and pulled me out of the mud, the muck, the dirt, the filth, and cleaned me off. I put myself in the mud, dirt, and filth, but I'm going to tell you right now, try to get out of it on your own. Don't worry, I'll wait. We'll all wait. It ain't going to happen. That's going to be the longest 2-minute break of your life. We so easily can put ourselves into sin. Try to get out of sin. Sin ain't no joke. That's why we shouldn't tamper with it. Sin is intoxicating. You want more. You want more. That's why you shouldn't lust over your neighbor's wife, because you'll never want to stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Sin is nothing to play with. Sin is powerful. But thank God for grace and mercy. Grace and mercy saved me. I don't even know if there's a number high enough for how many times grace and mercy saved me. And it just humbles you. If you think of that, how can you not want to cry? God, you love me that much. I literally told you I don't need you. I literally turned my back on you. I literally told you, God, I'm busy. I'll get back to you. And I'm talking to God like that.
Yeah.
And then Jesus said, but Father, I love Rick. That's deep. That's deep. And if that don't humble you, maybe you already don't have a pulse.
Yeah.
I know that my life is truly in God's hands because there's too many things and snares I got myself into outside of Satan I couldn't get myself out of. Sometimes our preachers say we give Satan too much credit. Sometimes we do things just because we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't like talking about that. It's not really popular to talk about yourself. I don't think I'm talking about myself when I share my testimony. I think those are two different things.
Yeah.
But what if your story will help a brother or sister? Maybe you should tell your story. What if your story may embarrass you a little bit, but it saved that sister from making that wrong turn? Maybe you should embarrass yourself a little bit. What if your story will help that brother not put the gun to his head that night? Maybe you should embarrass yourself a little bit. A little embarrassment to maybe save that brother's life, I say that's a good trade-off. In my opinion, anyway. God has brought me through too much to not just love on people. Like I said, I learned to love God and people. That's it. I don't need nothing in between. I don't need no up and down. That's it. I wish we could just love God and love people. We bring in too much junk. Let's just leave it like that. If we can master those two things, I think this would be a different earth.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how to live your life. I don't have that authority. I don't have that authority. I'm too busy trying to govern me. How dare you try to tell you how to live your life? And I made a muck of mine, so I'm not going to give you advice.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to sell nobody. I'm just trying to tell you what my mindset is. I always tell you, my job isn't to sell you on Jesus. My job is to be the best version of me I can daily. That's not my job. Every day God wake me up, that's my assignment, to be the best version I can be that day. I can't do nothing outside of that. You got free will, I got free will. And my free will tells me when I wake up, first thing I do, it's my God time. Me and God, we like the Bible. I think God like coffee because he shows up every morning. And we sip coffee, we read the Bible. That's my God time before I start my day. I know when I leave this threshold, I know the enemy's out there. Yeah. That's okay. So is the Holy Spirit, so is angels. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to say bring it on because I'm not that bold, but I also know I have protection with me. I got to go to work. I got to be a husband. I got to be a father. But I feel better when I read and I spend time with God. I don't know what other people do. That's just how I start my day.
Yes, sir.
When I first wake up, I think that first second belongs to God. And that's what works for me. You know, it kept me 57 years.
Yeah, man. And listen, I'm loving that because your routine, one thing I haven't heard in your routine is me. It's about what God is doing, right? And that's the reason that we have the upcoming book, Spiritworks. There's more to the story, y'all. You don't want to miss the next part. We'll be right back in about 2 and 2. Time for another quick commercial, and we'll be right back. Business of Books Mastermind Coaching Program has been around for the past 3 years. Myself as a coach, we've actually helped hundreds of authors get their books published and even more to become Amazon #1 best-selling authors. Over the past year and a half, we started our Amazon bestseller launch program, and 225 plus to date have all become #1 best-selling authors in multiple categories. Now, the reason that we started this coaching program is for people like you who you've either just started working on your first book and you don't know where to go with it. You're looking for a blueprint to creating your book. You're wondering how to market your book. You're wondering about how to connect with your audience. And most importantly, how am I going to sell this book and create income from it? These are all things that we teach you inside of 90 Days to Bestseller. The reason that this program is relevant to you is because you want to write that book and you want to be successful. Now that person may not be you. Here's the opposite. You've already written your book and you want to relaunch it as a bestseller. Been there, done that. My first book, I actually changed the cover twice for that exact same reason. The first cover, I loved it. But for some reason, after a while, it got stale. It was sitting on the shelf. So I created my own cover. Bad idea, right? The reason that it was a bad idea is because it looked like somebody was creating a network marketing flyer for my book. Went back and let a professional do it. Keyword, professional. Once that professional got their hands on my book, changed the book cover, it created a completely different vibe for my book. And here's what we've done as a result. From that change, from those slight changes, having a professional designer, going and hiring a professional editor, that book has actually launched a career for me that has taken me around the globe. And when I say around the globe, I've spoken at places all across the country and even done a few virtual international workshops here in the past few months. Now, for you, we can show you the exact same thing. We have the blueprint, we have the tools, we have the system that will work to help you get your book published and launched as an Amazon bestseller. Now, how long does it take? Typically, it takes us about 90 days. We're not going to tell you that it's going to be overnight. We're not going to tell you that it's going to be easy, but we will tell you that we have a blueprint that works and you should be next. Hey, and we are back with the man himself, Mr. Rick Greene. So far, you've heard his story, you've heard the turnaround, and now he is definitely a man of God, man of faith, who is living it and walking it daily. Now, there's a few things that are connected to your story that most people that are just, looking at you and saying, wait a minute, this guy said he's 57. He doesn't look 57. That's one. And then two, he just looks like an average Joe, right? So with that being said, there's a few parts of your story that are priceless. Didn't you at one point have somebody trying to impersonate you based on something that happened in the past?
Yeah, I didn't even know how to react. I got a phone call one day. At this time, I had a publicist, and she said, Rick, some guy in New Jersey is claiming to be you as far as the kidney donation. And I was like, what? Because you don't get a phone call like that every day. He said, yeah, he's telling the local media that he donated the kidney. to Marvin Gaye the third. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm the one that was on the table in the hospital. I didn't really know how to react.
Yeah.
I didn't know people did that.
Wait. Back that up.
Yeah.
Back that up. Donated a kidney to the guy was impersonating you for it and saying that he donated his kidney.
Yeah.
To say that name again.
To legendary soul singer Marvin Gaye's son, Marvin Gaye the third.
Come on,
I'm
man.
the one that was on the table April 29th. I'm in UCLA Medical Center. I'm up at 4:17 a.m. getting ready for surgery. He's on the table next to me. My wife crying. Wendy's crying. Marvin's wife. I don't remember nobody else there. So I didn't know how to take that when she called and told me that.
Yes, sir.
And that was just, like I said, my whole life is a God thing because the way I donated him a kidney, once again, people might get tired of hearing it. It's a God story. You know, I got a habit when I walk in my house, I always grab the remote and turn the TV on. Just a habit without thinking. And that day I grabbed it. Me and my wife came from the show. I turned on the TV and instantly Entertainment Tonight was on. And Marvin Gaye the third and this nurse was asking, would anybody be willing to donate Marvin a kidney? And as soon as the nurse said that, God said, help him. At first I was like, huh? How do you act like you don't hear God? And God said, help him. So I grabbed a pen, I wrote the number down. And you're going to see God all through this. I called UCLA Medical Center, and they sent some vials and some kits from my blood from LA to my house. My blood, a phlebotomist, she did the blood work. See how all this connecting? And we sent it back, and they called me 4 days later, and they said, would you mind coming to LA for 4 days of tests? And I was like, sure. My wife was nervous and didn't really know how to take it. She didn't know how to handle it because she said, Rick, it'd have been nice if you told me. And I said, Steph, I couldn't tell you because I couldn't let nobody get in that space and try to talk me out of what I knew God called me to do. And that's the reason I didn't tell my wife at first. So I get on the jet, I land in LAX, and Wendy was crying. Marvin's wife. I said, Wendy, what's wrong? And she said, Rick, there were 7 people before you, none of them matched. I said, they could match. God already told me I'm the match.
Huh.
I opened up the limo and Marvin landed across the back seat. He couldn't even sit up. I mean, he was bad. Dialysis, everything was just shutting down. And I said, Marvin, I got something to tell you. He said, what's that, Rick? I said, I didn't even know you existed. I knew your father. Everybody knew your father. And I said, Marvin, I'm not doing this for you. And he said, why are you doing it, Rick? I said, because God told me to help you. And I love God and I love people.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm in UCLA Medical Center getting 4 days of tests of stuff I don't even want to tell people about. Like, are you serious? I was ready to go home. And about 2 days after I got home, the guy called me, the surgeon. He said, Rick, how did you know? I said, God told me in Cincinnati. He said, you're the perfect match. And we scheduled the surgery April 29th. And on April 29th, they removed my kidney. April 30th, I'm on the beach in LA walking with staples because my surgeon was right. He said, Rick, the best thing you could do is walk and you'll heal. He was right. The more I walked, the more I healed. Now, this is God. April 29th, it felt like a truck hit me. April 30th, it went from like a 10 to a 3.
Yeah.
Just by walk, he was right. I'm like, you know, them surgeons go to school 7 to 8 years. Now I see why. They study the body. They know the body.
Yes,
and I don't know, man. It's funny because, like I said, people like talking more about that story than any part of my life. And I feel like it's just a little piece of my life. But that's the one people talk about. And then I got home. I don't even know how. Like local 12 News in Cincinnati, they heard about it. Then I turned on Tom Joyner the next day. I love Tom Joyner morning show. They said, Rick Greene in Cincinnati donate Marvin Gaye's son a kidney. I said, Dad, did Tom Joyner say my name? Because I've been listening to Tom Joyner for years.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's a God thing. And people say, Rick, how can you donate a kidney to a stranger? I said, are we truly strangers? God created all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we never met, but are we truly strangers? And I wrestle with that. I'm more on the side of no. We just never met before.
Yeah.
That's just the way I take it. That don't mean we're strangers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I heal up. I go on with my life. Marvin go on with his life. We talk, but we're two different people.
Man, and that's powerful. That's a powerful testimony because the average person has not experienced something, would not even consider, you know, if their mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin was fighting for their life to give them a kidney, let alone somebody that you've never met before, right? And then what impacts me about that is that it was, like you said, it was that God calling, because most people hear those whispers from God, but don't know
Yeah.
how to turn it yet, because it's such a still small voice. But sometimes it's so loud that it's even in silence, it's like, ooh, I heard every piece of that. And you
Yeah.
actually listened, and as a result, not only did you save that man's life, but you also had a chance to enjoy the city around you the following day. So it wasn't too much, and then started getting national recognition as a result of that, right?
Yeah, you know what I tell people, brother, about when people ask me how I did it, I said, because none of this belongs to me. This is just the shell God placed me in. And that's just the way my brain internalizes it. None of this belongs to me. It all
Yeah,
belongs to God. That's just the way my brain handled it. But I knew I had to act immediately because I didn't want Satan or nobody else trying to talk me out of it. And I learned in my life, when I act immediately on the nudging of the Holy Spirit, it's better for me.
yeah.
When I linger, when I sit back, God's not going to force you. You have to thing called free will. I don't know. When I linger, when I sit back, looking back on my life, it always was worse for me.
Yeah.
Because God's relentless. God wants something, he wants it. And, when God handpicked you, he handpicked you. So nobody can have your assignment. That's yours.
Say that again. Come on
Yeah,
now.
nobody can have your assignment. That's your assignment. Nobody else can fulfill your assignment anyway. Nobody can take your assignment from you. You can. Like that, we can destroy our own blessing. But nobody can give you or even create the blessing that God already has your name wrote on it anyway. It's your name wrote on it. Now, you can leave it there and let it sit there and let the moths mess with it, or you can go claim your blessing.
Come on.
That's the one thing I love about God. What has your name wrote on? Has your name wrote on? Whether you pick it up or not, that's not a God thing. That's a you thing. Whether you work
Say
towards that
that.
blessing, that ain't a God thing. That's a you thing. But, it's something about humans. We don't like talking about ourselves, but we love talking about the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so done with that. I'd rather dissect and work on me and my imperfection, let the neighbor work on the neighbor. I believe the best testimony I could be for the world is to be the best me I could be on a daily basis. I think that's the way I'm going to change the world, by being the best me I could be on a daily basis. When I wake up, I thank God for a brand new day. I thank him for taking me from yesterday. I ask him if it's his will he take me till tomorrow. But I say, God, I'm focusing on today. That's all I really got. I can't bring this one now. I may not see this one. Why do I worry about those two? I got this one. This one in my grasp.
Yeah.
I can work with this one. I can't hold them. That's just me I got today though. I ain't letting you go. I got you. That's the way I look at it anyway. And I don't even know what I'm saying makes sense to people. It makes sense to me. So I'm gonna work with this one that I can grasp. I can affect this one. But sometimes I can affect this one and affect that one. I can't change that one. I can't change yesterday, but I can do something today that can affect tomorrow. And that's just the way I choose to look at life. I think we bring too many other things into the picture. Myself, I think we complicate things too much. I don't think there's nothing wrong with simple. You know, like people say, well, Rick defines simple. The best way I can define simple, water is wet because God said so. I don't need no other reason. God said it's wet. Stop looking for 8 or 9 different other reasons. I'm going to deal with that one. You know why birds fly? Because God said so. And that works for me. You know why I breathe air? Because God gave me lungs. I don't need to complicate that.
Yeah.
Can't breathe air without lungs. I think we overcomplicate things. I don't know. That's just my opinion anyway.
Now listen, I dig it. And we got time for one more commercial break. We got a late start, so we're gonna go ahead and finish it out in the last 10 minutes of the stretch. But as you just heard, part of Rick's story, which most people see as the major part of his story, but it's only a small piece of his story, is the fact that he was able to save another man's life. The other man happened to be a celebrity, happened to be Marvin Gaye's son. You heard it right, Marvin Gaye's son. But the fact that Rick took up that assignment, that's the one thing that has had an impact on his life. And just like he said, you too have an assignment on your life. Are you going to accept that call, or are you going to let it sit on the sidelines and wait for somebody else to come along and pick it up? Because I kind of differ from you in saying that it's just going to sit there. I say it this way: God gives us an assignment. When we don't take that assignment, he passes it on to the next person. And when the next person gets it and they run with it, all we can do is sit back and watch. God will give us another assignment, but that one assignment that was for us, it may not be there very long. So it's up to us to make that decision. So listen, I hope y'all are enjoying the Rick Greene story. This is just part 1 of 2. And we're going to be back with some of the things that he's doing daily that separates him from what his previous story was. Amazing man, amazing story. We're going to take another commercial break. We'll be right back in about 2 and 2.
Just really quickly, Sugar Ray, I actually have something that I just want to say to you. Try not to get all emotional, but I thank you. Is people come in your life at various times, whether it be a season, a lifetime, and I never expected to get to this point where I'm at right now. And these accountability calls have really just held me accountable. So I guess it's a good name to have, accountability calls. Is your spirit is just really powering, and it made me want to go further. I never thought about trying to have a business or seeing myself like actually going through these phases, and your words of encouragement have actually really just inspired me. So I thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we are back with Mr. Rick Greene. Definitely living a different life today than he was living in the past. Part of his testimony is not part of his story is that where he came from, child of the youngest of 11, was addicted, made a decision, and made a permanent decision that he was going to turn his life around, saved a man's life, and is now doing something daily, not just daily, but also he's very involved in his church, and it's something that you do daily. You want to touch on that?
Oh yeah, me and my wife, we've been in the choir probably about 15 years. We just love singing in the choir. That's one of our passions. And every Saturday, I have my own ministry, Spiritworks Ministry. I go downtown in Cincinnati, and me and my family, we make 40 to 60 bag lunches here in the kitchen. I don't know where the money come from. And we feed the homeless. Because 3 years ago, God told me to start feeding the homeless, but he never told me to stop. And I'm still on assignment until God tells me to stop. I love my assignment. I think I get more out of it than they do. And what's my door? And by the grace of God, the story we're talking about now, there's a producer in LA. It's been written into a screenplay. And hopefully one day it's going to be a film. And I know that's probably a little ways off. I'm just excited somebody wrote my story into a screenplay.
Hey, listen, there's no little parts to your story, right? And the fact that it's already been written into a screenplay, we're gonna claim it in advance that it will come to be a real live movie for people. Yes, sir. So singing in the choir. Now, you talked about the divorce. When did the current wife come into the picture? Because from what I see, there's a lot of love in that picture.
Yeah. Actually, Lindsay, me and Stephanie met in 2000. Yeah. It's funny because when I met Stephanie, I had strayed from the church. I wasn't living right, and I just started getting my life back on track. And I told God that I want a new wife, but I don't want to pick her because I always make mistakes. I want you to handpick her. I didn't know a year later. I thought God forgot. I'm like, God, did you forget my prayer? It's been like a year. I'm like, you still up there? And I walk in the church. That funny. I walk in that day was the day my wife was scheduled to get baptized. Yeah. And I remember that was the first day I walked in church, and Reverend Chris was preaching. I couldn't hear a word he said. I kept looking at this woman on the right. Man, it's hard to focus. And God said, there's your wife. I'm like, and then just terror. I didn't say to her. So I didn't want church to end, but church ended. I couldn't let her leave. I'm a guy, I don't have an opening line. So I had to run outside and catch her before she get to her car. I'm like, for real, God? Her mother was with her. I'm like, 2 people? I'm like, oh my God. So I kept up to her. I'm like, excuse me. And they both turned around. And my wife was like, yeah. I said, what's your name? And she said, Stephanie. And I'm like, God, I need some help. I need some help. He didn't say nothing. And I said, God told me you were going to be my wife. And she was, that was the first thing she was telling me. She kind of chuckled and laughed. And I didn't know what to say after I said, God said that you're going to be my wife. And her mother walked away a little bit. And I said, can I have your number? And she gave it to me. And I gave her mine. And this is the most bonehead part. When they got in the car, I called her. And she was like, hello? And I said, I just wanted to make sure you gave me the right number. She said, you calling me already? And so we laughed, but then a year and a half later, we married. I said, you laughed at me, but a year and a half later. And like, I don't know, God said that's your wife. I knew I had to say something. I knew it. And now people said, well, Rick, how do you know God talking to you, speaking to you? I've never been able to describe it. It's not audible. It's a sensation. It's I'm not intelligent enough to put the words around. You know what I mean? You just know. I know people hate that answer. You just know. I tell people when the Holy Spirit, when my heart, mind, and soul all in agreement, it's right. And all 3 of them agreed, that's your wife. Once again, there go a Trinity. That's your wife. I've been loving God for a long time. I've never known him to be wrong. I don't have a reason to doubt him. But Satan hit me with fear. And I remember I said, Satan, you either going to let me go or come with me. One or the other. But I couldn't let her go. I had to go speak at an engagement one time, share my testimony. My wife said, Rick, your knees were shaking. I was sweating. I knew they were finna call my name, and Satan was hitting me hard. I said, devil, either let me go or go on the stage with me. I don't know why I said that. He went on stage with me. I was terrified.
Yeah.
My stomach, the whole time, I couldn't control my knee, and I knew people were looking at him. But I didn't quit.
Yeah.
I said, you lose, just like you always do. Oh, he hit me. But hey, he never let me go the whole time I was speaking. I'm sweating, my knees buckled. But I did my assignment that God called me to do. But, I hate them type of days. But I tell people, just because you're saved, that don't mean he's going to leave you alone. He might mess with you more. What I'm saying is sometimes you got to push through.
Yeah.
He either going to leave you alone or he's going to come with you. The thing is, are you going to walk away from your assignment? That's really the only question. I can't say whether he's going to leave you alone or not. Because I learned sometimes he don't.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was when I met Stephanie. It was hard, but something in me said, Rick, you could do this. I knew if I never saw her again, that day was going to haunt me the rest of my life. I didn't want to live with that. No, what if she would have said yes? And here we are, next May 25th, be 20 years anniversary.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I can't even look over my life and not see a God story. Even when I was doing dirty, it was a God story. He kept sparing me. I'm in alley, people getting shot and shot at. Nothing ever happened to me. And I kept saying, God, you love me that much. You love me. I don't know why it took me so many years to realize that. I can't answer that. But I know when I heard it, I heard it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better to me than God. There's nothing greater to me than God. There's nothing more loving than God. I wish we would choose to love each other over bickering, quarreling, and hating each other. That takes so much energy and effort. Love is just natural. I don't have to like you and agree with you. You don't have to like me or agree with me. There should be a level of mutual respect. Just because we're children of God. It's impossible for us not to bump heads. That's human life. I know you ain't gonna like this. Get over it. You're allowed your opinion. I'm allowed to. Let's stop acting like 3-year-olds. Start acting like men and women when they're real 3-year-olds looking at us.
Yeah.
I think that's a shame. We act like them. We're called to lead them. Well, no wonder they're confused. Yes, when two grown people on the highway arguing because somebody accidentally cut the other one off, did you hear the word accident? They didn't mean it. Whatever happened to I'm sorry, wrong with your life. Sometimes we act so immature. And I just think growth and maturity comes just with being honest with ourselves.
Yes, sir. Listen, man, I love it. There's so much more to the Rick Greene story than we can even begin to jump into in this 1 hour. And so every morning, you can catch Rick Greene on the air. Tell the people where they can find you, because you do drop a daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and scripture. Let them know where they can find you at.
Yeah, every morning on my Instagram and on my Facebook page, it's called The Morning Second. I just want to put something positive and uplifting into the world. I'm sick of all the negativity. I refuse to get on that train. You can give somebody else my ticket. I'm not riding it. And every Saturday, I mean it. I'm just angry about that train. I don't like that train. And every Saturday morning, I'm on 700 WLW at 8:15 a.m. spreading positivity and love. And that's what I plan on doing until God call me home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Say that one more time. Every Saturday morning.
every Saturday morning on 700 WLW.
All right. Listen, y'all heard it. Y'all heard it here. Every morning, make sure you tune in to uh, Rick Greene's Facebook and Instagram page, because he does drop daily inspiration. He does drop daily motivation, and as you can hear, his life is not changed because he changed his life. God changed his life. So his story is a God story. It is a powerful testimony of what is possible if you believe and if you accept that calling that is truly on your life. Because as I'm going to use Rick Greene's words, we all have a calling, we all have an assignment from God. Some people accept it and some people walk away from it. Those who accept it, their lives are changed forever. Those who walk away from it, sit on the benches and do this.
Yep. Yep.
So, yes, sir. So y'all make sure y'all follow Rick Greene. And if you haven't done so already, we're having an actual open launch this Saturday for his book Spiritworks. As we launch him to bestseller. The link is in the comments. Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite, register for his event. And we're definitely looking forward to it. We're excited. Anything you want to say to the people before we close this out?
No, I just want to say I wish we would truly work on loving God and loving people. And thank you for your time. And let's go pick up our assignments. Because if you don't, I'm gonna get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, listen, this is part one of Rick Greene's story. We'll be back next weekend with part two. So until next weekend, we love y'all. We'll see you next weekend.
Thank you. Bye. God bless.